How many times have you found yourself needing clients, putting out a ton of marketing in order to secure those new clients? And then once you have those clients, found yourself so busy that you didn't have time to market. So you stopped marketing. And then a few months, few weeks, whatever down the road, you realize I need more clients. I need to market myself again. If that is the case, then you are stuck in the feast and famine marketing cycle. I'm Amanda Warfield. I am the host of the Chasing podcast, the author of the book Chasing Simple Marketing that I have right here, Chasing Simple Marketing, and I am a simplicity-focused content marketing strategist and copywriter for small business owners. My mission over here on YouTube in this little corner of the interwebs is to help course creators simplify their marketing so that they can make a bigger impact in less time. And that's really my goal with everything that I do. I'm here to help small business owners fit their marketing into their business without it taking over their business. Today, I want to talk to you about the feast and famine marketing cycle. So, like I said, the feast and famine marketing cycle is geared towards those people that they have clients, they're able to get clients, they just have a hard time consistently getting clients, and they often find themselves stuck in this mode of I'm either marketing and getting clients, or I'm not marketing and I'm serving my clients. And so you're stuck in one or the other. Now, this is not to be confused with another marketing cycle, you could say, that I often talk about, which is the content creation hamster wheel. The content creation hamster wheel is when you are constantly creating content and you're not able to find your way off of that hamster wheel in order to do other things. So for those that they find their way off, but then they're actually not putting out content, the feast and famine marketing cycle is more of what they're stuck in. But no matter which one you're stuck in, these tips that we're going to talk about today to get out of the feast and famine marketing cycle will actually help you if you are also, or not also, but if you are stuck on that content creation hamster wheel. Hi to all of my friends that have just hopped on here live. I'm so excited you're here. Please say hi in the chat. I should turn all chat on, not top chat. Say hi in the chat. I'm so glad you're here. If you have any questions at all about the feast and famine marketing cycle, any of the tips we're going to talk about today, anything at all, really, this is totally a free-for-all. Please drop your comments and your questions in the chat. Also, very unrelated, but I would love ideas of what in the world to do back here on this wall behind me. There's not a lot of space. For those that don't know or don't follow me anywhere else, we just moved not too long ago, and so my office is a very blank canvas. And in my previous house, I had a much bigger office. And so I had room for bookshelves behind me and had a really great background. I'm this close to the wall. So if you're someone that's great at decor, I would love ideas because I never know what to do behind me because I'm always worried about the whole camera being swapped. In some places it is, and some it's not, and then things show up backwards, like words are hard. Anyways, not totally relevant to what we're talking about today, but if you have any ideas, I would love thoughts because this is boring. Anyways, all right, so feast and famine marketing cycle. A couple things that you can do to get out and get away from the feast and famine marketing cycle, which the goal would be essentially that you're able to show up consistently with your marketing so that you can consistently fill your client pipeline without having to spend all of your time marketing, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you create a plan and a strategy. I actually have another video on the difference between content plans and content strategies and why they're not the same thing, even though we use them interchangeably, and I even can find myself using them interchangeably. They're not the same thing. So what the difference is and why you need both, I have a whole video on that actually, and I will link to that in the description box. But it's a video right before this one actually on my channel. So it should be fairly easy to find. But you want to have a plan and a strategy because if you have a plan and a strategy in place, you don't have to spend as much time creating content. There's the whole consistency but not constant idea. You don't have to show up all the time, and you don't even have to show up weekly, daily, whatever, as long as you're showing up consistently. And that depends on the platform you're on, of course. But if you're able to show up consistently, using a plan and a strategy, and you're not just throwing out content just for the sake of throwing content out there, you're able to fill your pipeline a whole lot faster and simpler than if you were, okay, I need clients, so I'm going to put out a ton of content all at once, and then I get clients and I don't have time to keep up with that status anymore. So you want to have a plan and a strategy that you know you can stick to consistently. So that's the first step. Again, I will link to the video I've already created on content plans versus content strategy and why you need both and how you can create both below for those that are watching the replay. Now, the next thing to think about is that you want to make sure that you're putting out less content that's better quality, which goes along with that. Having that strategy and that plan in place will allow you to create better quality content less often, because when you're putting out quality content, you don't need as much to make an impact. And so you're able to really sit back and go, okay, if I'm only putting out a piece of long form content every other week, what are the top things I need to hit? And actually, you might be surprised at how many great ideas you have when you pull back from how often you're having to create content. You also want to make sure that you're repurposing and reusing content that you've already created. In fact, this live that I'm doing right now, this is content that I'm repurposing from, honestly, I've repurposed it in a bunch of different places. I've talked about it so many times. I talk about it in my book. These three things are in here in more depth, obviously. I've talked about it on the podcast. I talk about it, just the feast and famine marketing cycle in general. I talk about when I'm a guest on other podcasts. I'm reusing this same content and talking about it over and over and over again, which one makes it easier to create content that I know does something. Like I've heard from so many people that, oh, this is great. This is so helpful. So I know it's worth reusing and I know that it makes an impact. But also, it makes sure that those who are watching me, if you found me on YouTube and you haven't seen my Instagram, my podcast, my book, any of that, this is a base topic for me. This is pillar content, I guess you could say, because this is something that is basic to everything that I do. These tips that I'm sharing today, this is the basis for all of my different offers. Is these three things, well, four things I'm sharing today that can help you get consistent is such an important part of everything that I teach, and I teach it over and over again. But you could follow me for years without hearing me talk about it, because although I feel like I'm a broken record about it, the reality is that your audience sees such a tiny part of what you put out that in reality they're probably not seeing most of what you're saying. And so repeating yourself not only is a service to yourself, but it's a service to your audience as well, because if you have great content and great ideas, they need to hear them over and over and over and over again. And in fact, I've been talking about batching content for going on 5 years now. And I've talked about the specific way that I batch and that I help students batch. I have courses on it. I have a million podcast episodes about it. I have so much content around batching content. And yet, one of my most engaged community members just this month, well, last month because it's been in May, but within the last month, looked at me on one of our community calls and goes, wait, so you're telling me that I'm not supposed to sit down and write 4 blog posts in one day? Like, no, that's not what batching is, which is a whole other concept. But no matter how often you say something, there are plenty of people that aren't hearing it, even your most engaged people. So do them the service of talking about your main things over and over and over again, but do yourself the service as well. If content works to bring in clients, keep talking about those same topics because it's going to continue to bring in clients for you. Now, the next piece of advice that I have for you to get out of that feast and famine marketing cycle is to batch your content. Because when you set aside a week each and every month, specifically for batching the next month's worth of content, you're able to only have to create content once a month, right? You only have to create that content that 1 week out of each month, and then you have 3 weeks where you can focus on your clients. And so what that does, if you're someone that's stuck in the feast and famine marketing cycle, if you're someone who, for those that have joined live since I last shared what the feast and famine marketing cycle was, if you're someone who is either serving clients or creating marketing, it almost works in conjunction with that cycle, because you're in content mode for a week, and then you're in client mode for 3 weeks, and then you're in content mode for a week, and then you're in client mode for 3 weeks. So it's almost like sticking with the cycle you're in, except it's much more intentional and it doesn't create gaps, because typically when we're stuck in that feast and famine marketing cycle, we don't have content going out when we're serving clients. And so by batching your content once a week each month, you're able to then serve your clients, but also have your marketing going out so that you're serving your audience and encouraging them to become clients. So that's really helpful for that. Now, the last piece of advice that I have for you if you're stuck in that feast and famine marketing cycle is to hire help. I cannot tell you how important it is to hire help. And I know that a lot of times it can be like, well, but will I really have ROI? Is it really worth it? And it comes down to what you decide you need help with. If you're like, I have no problem knocking out the main content, but it's the editing and the repurposing and the scheduling that I have trouble with, well, hire a VA. And then they will help you get that content out, and you just have to focus on creating it. Or if you're like, I don't even have time to think about what I need to create and what that plan and strategy, which was tip number 1. I guess this is 5 tips before. Tip number 1, though, was to create a plan and strategy. If you're like, I don't even know where to begin with that and how much content to create and what that should look like, well, maybe you need to hire a marketing strategist who can tell you, here's what you need to write about. Here's the topic, the hook, the call to action. Let me give you that, and then you can take it and write it and then either schedule it yourself or hire a VA, right? That's what I do for my one-on-one clients is I create their topic, their hooks, and their calls to action so they know when they sit down to create their content, what they're talking about, how to start it, and how to end it, and they're just filling in the middle pieces. If you are someone who wants to hand it off totally, you want to hire a copywriter. So for some of my clients, they're like, I want you to create the strategy and the copy, and I'll schedule it. I do that for some of my clients. Or maybe you're someone who's like, I have a ton of great content. I have content that has gotten me clients, and I just don't, the repurposing, it's too much. I wish someone could just take what I've already created and create more content based off of that. I have a repurposing VIP day. And I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that do that same thing. They take content you've already created and they create more content based off of that for you. So you can hire help in whatever way that you need. So if you're like, I just need someone to take what I've created, let's talk about a VIP day. You can learn more on my website. I'll link to it below. But there are so many different ways that you can hire help that aren't just the social media manager, the this, the that. There are tons of people out there. I'm not the only one. You can find plenty of copywriters, plenty of content strategists, so many different people, and you just find the one you vibe with so that you can get that help. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. For example, with my VIP day, where I repurpose content for you, you get basically a quarter's worth of content for $500. And so if you're like, I just need help getting over this busy season, that's a great option. If you're like, I'm really busy, I want to stay consistent, I don't have time to create anything, take what I've already created before and create more, and then I'll schedule it, and then you're good to go and to get out of that busy season. So that's another great way to get out of the feast and famine marketing cycle. So those 5 tips: create a plan and a strategy, create better content less often, repurpose and reuse your content, batch your content, hire help. If you can do, honestly, even just one of those 5 things, it'll go a long way to getting out of that feast and famine marketing cycle for yourself, for your business, so that you can consistently bring in clients without spending all of your time marketing. So if any of my friends here live have questions for me, let me know in the chat. I will answer them. We can talk anything related to what I touched on today in this live, or just anything marketing in general. I'm happy to answer for you. Or like I said earlier, if you've got design tips for what in the world my background should look like back here, that would be great. And if you are watching this replay later, say hi in the comments. And again, design tips, very open to them. But any marketing questions as well, and I'll come back and answer them for you. And then, yeah, if you haven't already, I will link the video about content plans versus content strategy and why you need both after this video, and you can go check that one out. All right, looks like there's no questions today, so I will see you back here next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, to chat about a content engine and how to build one. See you guys.